Are you tired of looking like this? Are you tired of being called top heavy? Are you annoyed that people make fun of your skinny legs? Good. You need to get pissed off that they say that. And get in the gym and work hard to grow into some freaking tree trunks you can be proud of. And today I have the exact remedy for you. I have a perfect all-around complete athletic leg workout that's gonna help you go from these guys into these guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let's get to it. Okay, now going into the workout, I always start my leg day, actually any workout, starting with core. It's really important to train your core. You know, it's one of the strongest muscles in the body and adapts very well. So you need to make sure that you work on it and push it to, past the limits that you're currently able to do in order to gain strength there. So for leg days specifically, these are my plank days. So I start with a weighted plank. I started at 2 minutes, and I've been adding like a second every time I do leg day again. And so now I'm at 3 minutes. So I do 45 pound weighted plank for 3 minutes. And that's like my regular plank. And this one, it's very hard. I like this because more than like the workout, it builds that mental toughness. It's like you really want to quit. Like 3 minutes is ridiculous for this, for just for working out on your own, and it really tests your mental fortitude. And that's my favorite part of this plank, is beating that voice that says like, oh, just drop it, who cares, you know what I mean? So after weighted planks, I go into weighted side plank kind of press up, I guess. And these are for the obliques, very important in stabilizing the low back and the hips, especially for your squats and things like that. Having strong oblique muscles can really help keep you stable during your compound lifts, and help keep you stable during your compound lifts and really help you prevent injury, especially for low back injuries. Okay, now let's move into the first working set since we finished core. My exercises usually contain a few workouts for each set. That's just how I like doing it. I like keeping the intensity high. I like keeping my heart rate high. And so we start off working the hip flexors, one of the most neglected muscle groups in the lower body. This is the first muscle that picks up your leg. So if this muscle's weak, it's kind of a limiting factor for what you can output as athlete, So I train to be athletic, and so hip flexor has a lot to do with how fast you can actually go, because the faster and more powerful you can pick up your leg, the faster you can put it back down and continue running. Next movement we go into is a heel elevated split squat. The heel elevated lets you get into a lower position if you don't have that full range of motion. And then also, this lets our knee bend more. So the more our knee is gonna bend in front of us, in front of our toes, the more our quad is gonna stretch, and the more you can kind of emphasize quad muscle recruitment. So we hit 10 on each leg, going nice and deep, having our back leg elevated also gives us a nice stretch in that hip flexor. So the exercise prior, we're contracting the hip flexor with weight, and now we're using the weight on our back to go nice and deep and re-stretch that hip flexor. So you kind of get mobility and contraction at the same time. So following the split squat, we're gonna go into some groin work. So it's kind of like a side plank, crunch almost, but this time it's more emphasis on the groin. And these ones are killer for sure. And the groin the inner thigh consists of a big portion of our leg, and so it's important that it gets the necessary work too. And the last part of this first kind of exercise block are these heel elevated step ups. So for these, you want to make sure that your torso is upright, core is engaged, your off leg is pointed up and flexed, and you're bending your knee forward, letting your knees come over your toes, again, to get a bigger stretch in the quads. Also brain sends sensory input to the knee
to send synovial fluid to the joint when you are bent at that angle. So this is just overall really good for knee health. You know, once your knee is going in its full range of motion, you kind of put a lot of emphasis on the VMO, or the vastus medialis oblique, kind of that teardrop part of the quad, which is responsible for the tracking of the patella over the femur and the tibia. And when that muscle is weak and it cannot properly, you know, keep the traction optimal, is when you get a lot of knee injuries and tears in the ligaments. So it's important to train the knee in its full range of motion rate, because in sports, in like volleyball or basketball, soccer, your knee is going to be going past just that traditional 90 degrees. And so you want to make sure your knee is strong. You don't want to be strong just up to 90 degrees, and then anything past that, you've never trained it with resistance. Because once it comes time to be in that position in your sport or whatever, and you don't have any strength in that range, you know, that's when injuries can happen. So you want to make sure, you know, you're training the full range of the joint. Next, we move into squats. So doing the heel elevated split squat and squats has given me a lot of ankle mobility, and I've been able to go deeper than I've ever been able to go, which is really nice. So this is my first one, just with one plate, kind of warming everything up, getting nice and deep. And then we're gonna add some weight. For round 2, I think these were just my warm-up rounds, I believe. Before my main sets. Because I think I went up to 275 today, or during this workout. So here, so look at the tempo. You know, I've really been practicing hard to get my mobility to a point where I can squat heavier with good form and good tempo and good control. Okay, so now we're into the working sets. Here I'm trying to go as low as I can while keeping a good tempo and good form. So knees are coming forward. That's what I've been practicing with all the little step ups and things of that nature. So I can be strong when I have a heavy load on my back, right, in the squat, and I can be strong in that end position. So that's where a lot of people struggle, is coming out from the bottom, and that's why people can't generally go as deep, besides like mobility factors. And so building strength in that position is really important. All right, moving on from squats. The next workout block is starting off with some hamstring curls. I don't know what it is about this machine, you know, it's only 45 pounds, but the way it is on this bench, like this 45 pounds literally legit feels like it's 90 pounds. Like I don't know, I've been doing 45 pounds for a few months now, and it's just, I don't know what it is, gravity or who, or I don't know, a spell, I don't know, but it feels like a lot. And then it's cool, you can bring the chair back up, turn around, and then hit quads on the same bench. After that, we're gonna go into some anterior tibialis raises with weight. So this is another super neglected muscle. However, if you think about it, if this is my leg, right, and this is my foot, when I flex my foot, the anterior tibialis muscle is flexed. Okay, pretend my forearm is the anterior tib. So this is flexed, and it's the first thing, when I hit the ground, this muscle is the first thing that absorbs the force. So the more force that this muscle can absorb when you hit the ground, the less force goes to the joints, right? The ankles, knees, and then above would be the hips. So the stronger we can get the anterior tib, the more force you can take on the muscle as you impact on the ground. And that just correlates to, you know, knee health, speed. And then the opposite of the anterior tib is here, we're working the calves. So you wanna make sure, I use the slant board again, so I can go get a nice stretch at the bottom and then all the way up to the top. You wanna make sure you're not bouncing the weight on the calves, because that's literally what our Achilles heel has evolved to do, is to, you know, be able to bounce up and down like a spring. So you wanna make sure you kill the movement at the bottom and then go for your next set. Following that, we go into a body weight version of the tibs and the calves. So you just put your back against the wall. The further away your feet are from you, the harder it's gonna be. Keep your knees straight and just point your toes as high as you can to the sky. Following that, we go into a knees over toes calf raise. This one's targeting the soleus, which is the strongest muscle in the body.